Hey everyone, ready to dive deep into the world of The Wolf of Wall Street? Released on December 25, 2013, this film has sparked endless discussions, and today, we're uncovering every thrilling detail. If you enjoy this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us grow. And for more incredible movie explorations and hidden gems, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's unravel the magic behind this cinematic masterpiece. It all begins with a red Ferrari tearing through the streets and Jordan Belfort's voice breaking the fourth wall, casually informing us that, in real life, his car was actually white. That small detail sets the tone. This story isn't just about truth. It's about perception, illusion, and how money can bend reality. Jordan, played by Leonardo DiCaprio in what many argue is his most electric role to date, invites us into a dizzying world of greed, excess, and unapologetic hedonism. At just 22 years old, Jordan enters Wall Street bright-eyed and ambitious, working at a prestigious firm under the oddball mentorship of Mark Hanna, played brilliantly by Matthew McConaughey. Hanna's chest-thumping, humming ritual, improvised by McConaughey on set, became one of the most iconic moments of the film and a perfect metaphor for the primal, almost tribal energy of Wall Street culture. But the dream crashes quickly. On Black Monday in 1987, Jordan loses his job as the market collapses. Undeterred, he finds work at a strip mall brokerage firm selling penny stocks to working-class folks. This is where the wolf is born. His razor-sharp sales skills and moral flexibility allow him to manipulate clients into investing in worthless stocks, pocketing huge commissions. He quickly realizes that selling dreams is far more profitable than selling reality. So he builds his empire Stratton Oakmont, a boiler room disguised as a legitimate firm. Recruiting a team of loyal, unpolished hustlers, including Donny Ossoff, played by Jonah Hill in an Oscar-nominated role, Jordan turns a dingy office into a financial kingdom fueled by cocaine, quaaludes, and a total disregard for consequences. The film's momentum mirrors Jordan's lifestyle: fast, chaotic, larger than life. Martin Scorsese, ever the maestro of excess, paces the story like a roller coaster that never slows down. And yet, in all the madness, strippers in the office, dwarf tossing, Lamborghini crashes, Scorsese never loses sight of the human story underneath. Jordan's descent is both thrilling and tragic. We watch as money corrupts everything: his marriage, his friendships, his sense of self. Margot Robbie, in a breakout role as Naomi LaPaglia, brings complexity to the woman who becomes Jordan's second wife. Their relationship burns hot and fast, filled with lust, betrayal, and emotional wreckage. One of the film's most memorable scenes, Jordan's drugged attempt to crawl into his Lamborghini Countach, is a masterclass in physical comedy. But beneath the laughs is a man losing control, high on power and pills. And yet, despite the chaos, Jordan remains oddly likable. That's the trick the film pulls off so well. DiCaprio's performance walks a tightrope: charming, despicable, hilarious. He breaks the fourth wall constantly, inviting us to be complicit in his schemes. You find yourself laughing even as you cringe. And that's the point. The Wolf of Wall Street doesn't moralize. It doesn't tell us what to think. It shows us everything raw, unfiltered, and lets us draw our own conclusions. The FBI investigation looms throughout the film, slowly tightening its grip. Agent Patrick Denham, played with cool restraint by Kyle Chandler, represents the real world trying to catch up to Jordan's fantasy. The confrontation between the two men, one on a luxury yacht, the other on a modest government salary, exposes the tension between American ideals: hard work versus shortcuts, justice versus influence. Eventually, Jordan's empire collapses under the weight of its own fraud. Friends turn informants. The money dries up. His wife leaves. His house is raided. He serves time in prison, not long but enough to signal the end of an era. But even in the final scene, we see him again, reborn as a motivational speaker, teaching others how to sell. The wolf may have lost his den, but the hunger remains. The last shot lingers on the audience's blank faces as they await his wisdom, a haunting reminder that the desire for wealth, for shortcuts, for charisma over substance, never really goes away. Behind the scenes, Scorsese crafted this 3-hour epic with an energy that feels almost manic. The editing by Thelma Schoonmaker is sharp and relentless. The soundtrack pulses with life, and the camera work is bold, often breaking traditional rules to bring us inside Jordan's warped reality. This isn't just a film about finance. It's a rock opera of capitalism gone wild. Based on a true story, with input from the real Jordan Belfort himself, The Wolf of Wall Street forces us to confront a difficult truth, that the line between ambition and corruption is thinner than we think, that the American dream, in its most extreme form, can become a nightmare dressed in designer suits. And that's what makes this film so endlessly watchable. Beneath the surface excess is a deeply layered critique of our culture, told with humor, style, and unforgettable performances. It's not just about what happened. It's about why we're so drawn to stories like this. Because deep down, whether we admit it or not, we're fascinated by the wolves among us. The Wolf of Wall Street hit theaters on December 25, 2013, and it did not quietly sneak into cinema history. It exploded. Imagine unwrapping a Christmas present and finding inside a wild, chaotic, 3-hour roller coaster of drugs, money, parties, and one man's unstoppable hunger for more. Directed by the legendary Martin Scorsese and starring Leonardo DiCaprio in one of his most talked-about roles, this film didn't just tell a story. It grabbed audiences by the collar and pulled them headfirst into a world that felt unbelievable, outrageous, and yet somehow true. From the first few minutes, you know you're not watching a typical drama or biography. This is a full-throttle, fast-talking, no-apologies deep dive into the insane life of Jordan Belfort, a real-life stockbroker who went from a modest Wall Street job to running one of the most corrupt and wildly successful trading firms in history. What makes this film so extraordinary isn't just the events it portrays, but how it portrays them. Scorsese doesn't hold back. He uses voiceovers, fourth-wall breaks, rapid editing, wild camera angles, and a thumping soundtrack to keep the energy high and the viewer constantly on edge. There's never a moment where things slow down because in Jordan's world, slowing down means losing money, and losing money is the only sin that matters. Leonardo DiCaprio delivers a performance so powerful, so completely consumed by the character, that it's impossible to look away. He's charming, loud, manipulative, and funny. You watch him make millions, throw outrageous parties, drown in luxury, destroy his marriage, fall apart on drugs, get back up and fall again. There's no holding back. You're not just seeing his rise and fall. You feel like you're living it with him. The energy is raw and real, and DiCaprio's commitment is unbelievable. Whether he's rallying his army of salesmen in screaming fits of inspiration or crawling, paralyzed by quaaludes, down a flight of stairs, every scene is unforgettable. The story follows Jordan as he starts out full of ambition, just a regular guy trying to make it on Wall Street. But when the market crashes, he doesn't quit. Instead, he finds a loophole: penny stocks. These are cheap, often worthless shares, but the commission is massive. Jordan realizes he can make serious money by talking fast and playing dirty. So, he builds his own company, Stratton Oakmont, a place where morals go to die. He trains a team of misfits and outcasts, people with zero experience in finance but a talent for selling anything to anyone. Together, they scam their way into millions, partying harder than most rock stars, all while pretending to be legitimate businessmen. It's not just the story that pulls you in, it's how the film feels. The visuals are stunning and sometimes surreal. One moment you're watching a corporate pitch. The next, you're at a drug-fueled yacht party with strippers, champagne showers, and literal mountains of cash being tossed around like trash. The editing is fast, jumpy, and exciting. The dialogue is sharp, clever, and full of energy. Everything is over the top, but it never feels forced. You laugh, you cringe, and sometimes you're shocked that what you're watching actually happened. Supporting actors shine just as brightly. Jonah Hill, playing Jordan's right-hand man Donny Ossoff, gives a performance that is hilarious, weird, and completely unpredictable. He's the perfect mix of foolish and dangerous. A guy who shouldn't have power, but does, and has no clue what to do with it except enjoy the ride. Then there's Margot Robbie, in her breakout role as Naomi, Jordan's glamorous and sharp-tongued wife. Her presence is magnetic, and she adds emotional depth to a story full of madness. Their relationship, full of lust and explosive fights, gives the movie its most human moments. What makes The Wolf of Wall Street so compelling is that it never stops asking one quiet question in the background. Why do we find this world so attractive? Why are we so fascinated by people who break the rules, get rich, and live large, even when it all comes crashing down? Jordan isn't a hero. He lies, cheats, steals, and destroys the lives of people who trusted him. But somehow we still watch with wide eyes, wondering what he'll do next. The film doesn't tell you how to feel. It just shows everything, raw and unfiltered, and lets you decide. And that's exactly why it became a cultural phenomenon. It wasn't just about finance. It was about the thrill of excess, the seduction of wealth, and the myth of the American dream taken to its extreme. Memes, quotes, scenes, this movie lived far beyond the theater. Who hasn't seen the chest-beating chant? Or heard, "Sell me this pen"? These moments became part of pop culture because the film struck a nerve. It showed us something ugly in a beautiful, exciting way. And for many, it was a mirror to the real world of greed, success, and the cost of wanting everything. But The Wolf of Wall Street isn't just about wild behavior. It's about power. Jordan's real addiction wasn't drugs or money. It was control. The power to convince, to manipulate, to take from others and never feel guilty. And in that, the film becomes more than entertainment. It becomes a warning wrapped in laughter, a lesson hiding inside a party. Even after all the chaos, when Jordan is finally caught and faces prison, the story doesn't end with a clear message of justice. He gets a short sentence, writes a book, becomes a speaker. The final shot is haunting. A room full of people staring at him, waiting for his secrets to success. The camera lingers on their faces, and we're reminded again. The wolf is still out there, and he's still selling. This film is unforgettable not because it preaches, but because it dares to let the viewer enjoy the ride and then sit with the discomfort afterward. It's fast, funny, disturbing, and endlessly entertaining. Whether you're drawn in by the wild visuals, the intense performances, or the unbelievable true story, there's something here that grabs hold and doesn't let go. It's a movie you watch once and then think about for days. You question your reactions. You notice new details. You wonder how much of it reflects the world we live in. The story kicks off in high gear as we're thrown straight into the chaos of October 1987. Black Monday. A young and eager Jordan Belfort, just 22 years old, steps into Wall Street with stars in his eyes and ambition in his veins. He's just landed a junior broker position at the respected firm L.F. Rothschild, and it feels like the beginning of everything he's ever dreamed of. Dressed in a crisp suit, full of confidence but still wide-eyed, Jordan is ready to conquer the financial world. But the dream doesn't last long. His first mentor is the eccentric, coke-snorting, chest-thumping Mark Hanna, played by Matthew McConaughey in a scene that immediately cements itself as unforgettable. Over a boozy lunch, Hanna gives Jordan a crash course in the real rules of Wall Street. It's not about helping clients, he says. It's about taking their money and keeping it moving. That strange humming and chest-pounding rhythm? It's Hanna's bizarre way of staying in tune with the game. A primal ritual for a jungle where only the hungriest survive. It's funny, odd, and a little disturbing, perfectly setting the tone for what's to come. But before Jordan can settle into his new role, the stock market crashes. His first day on Wall Street becomes his last. L.F. Rothschild folds under the pressure of Black Monday, and Jordan is suddenly out of a job. It's a devastating blow, but instead of giving up, Jordan adapts. Hungry to get back in the game, he finds work at a tiny, low-end brokerage in a strip mall, a far cry from the glitz of Manhattan. There, surrounded by worn carpets and cigarette smoke, he discovers the world of penny stocks. Cheap, risky investments with huge commissions for the brokers who sell them. Jordan's first pitch on the phone is electric. He transforms before our eyes from a struggling newbie into a selling machine. His voice, his timing, his charm, it all clicks into place. In that moment, he finds his power. These stocks may be garbage, but he can sell anything. And when he sees how much he earns on just one call, something shifts permanently in him. The regular rules don't apply anymore. He's seen a new path, one paved with manipulation, confidence, and raw skill. Soon, Jordan decides to build something of his own. He opens a firm, Stratton Oakmont. But he doesn't recruit typical Wall Street talent. Instead, he brings in childhood friends, neighbors, and total outsiders, including Donny Ossoff, a loud, awkward, gold-toothed guy who literally quits his job after seeing Jordan's paycheck. Donny, played by Jonah Hill, is weird, unpredictable, and completely magnetic. Their partnership is both hilarious and chaotic. Together, they train their team in the straight-line selling method, hammering into them the art of not just selling but seducing. What they lack in financial training, they make up for in hunger. The energy at Stratton Oakmont becomes feverish. The office transforms into a jungle of ringing phones, shouting voices, and raw adrenaline. They're selling garbage stocks to rich people, raking in obscene commissions, and doing it with zero shame. Their business model is built on lies, but the success is very real. Within months, they move into a sleek office space. The desks are polished, the suits sharper, but the game is the same: sell, sell, sell. As the money flows in, so does the madness. Jordan becomes a king in his own world. He buys a mansion, drives a Ferrari, and lives like a rock star. He starts cheating on Teresa with models and escorts, his life spinning faster with every deal. The drugs become constant. Cocaine in the office, quaaludes after dinner, and something for every moment in between. He's high not just on substances, but on control, attention, and the thrill of beating the system. At work, Stratton becomes a circus. Employees are rewarded with cash-stuffed envelopes, strippers in the office, and full-blown parties during work hours. Jordan even hires a marching band and brings in exotic animals for fun. Every win is celebrated like a championship, every sale a reason to party. There's no sense of reality anymore, just the constant rush of more. But while Jordan basks in his growing empire, cracks begin to show. His relationship with Teresa becomes strained as his double life spirals. One night, he crashes his car while high, with Teresa in the passenger seat. It's a terrifying glimpse of what his recklessness could cost, but instead of pulling back, he pushes further. Soon after, he meets Naomi LaPaglia at a party, a stunning, smart woman who catches his attention instantly. Their chemistry is immediate. Naomi becomes the new object of Jordan's obsession. Teresa finds out, and their marriage ends in a heated, messy breakup. Naomi moves in with Jordan, and their life together begins in a haze of wealth and excess. Jordan proposes by showering her with diamonds, and soon, they're married, living in a beachfront estate, complete with a nursery and a yacht. But under all the beauty and luxury, Jordan's addiction to chaos keeps growing. His crew, especially Donny, mirrors his descent. The group becomes more reckless, their antics more outrageous. They start laundering money through Switzerland, hiding it from the IRS, using Naomi's British aunt to sneak it past the borders. But the wild ride doesn't go unnoticed. Jordan's firm becomes infamous, and that catches the attention of the FBI. Agent Patrick Denham quietly begins investigating Stratton Oakmont. At first, Jordan brushes it off, too drunk on power to care. But the pressure is building, and the sense of invincibility that once protected him starts to fade. There's a storm coming, and Jordan can't see it or doesn't want to. Still, the first half of the film is all about the rise. It's fast, funny, outrageous, and seductive. We're pulled into a world that feels like a dream, one where the rules are rewritten, and anyone with enough charm and nerve can take whatever they want. But beneath the surface, we begin to feel the tension. The higher Jordan climbs, the more obvious it becomes that this can't last. The wild parties, the lies, the money. It's all burning fast, and something's going to snap. As the first half comes to a close, we're left breathless. We've watched Jordan go from a broke nobody to a multimillionaire cult leader. But we've also seen the warning signs. He's surrounded by yes-men, lost in addiction, and being watched by the law. The world he built on fake stocks and empty promises is cracking. And deep down, we know something big is coming. The second half of The Wolf of Wall Street launches us deeper into the eye of a storm. Everything feels bigger, louder, faster, and more dangerous. Jordan Belfort is now at the peak of his power. He's untouchable, or so he believes. He has the cars, the yacht, the estate, the beautiful wife, and a global stream of money flowing in from every possible corner. But just beneath the surface, things are beginning to shift. What was once fun, wild, and exhilarating now starts to feel bloated, chaotic, and out of control. Jordan's life becomes a cycle of sex, drugs, and deception. He's popping quaaludes like candy, chasing every high possible, physically and emotionally. His marriage to Naomi, once full of passion and playfulness, begins to fall apart. Naomi grows tired of his constant cheating, his erratic behavior, and his obsession with control. Their arguments get louder, crueler. One night, in a scene that's hard to watch, Jordan loses himself in a drug-fueled rage, grabs Naomi, and tries to drive away with their daughter while completely out of his mind. It's a terrifying moment that strips away the glamour and exposes the rot underneath. For the first time, we're seeing Jordan as a man completely enslaved by his impulses. Meanwhile, the FBI's investigation, quietly building in the background, begins to close in. Agent Patrick Denham is watching every move. He's patient, methodical, and unlike Jordan, grounded. There's a tension between them that brews slowly but surely. One of the most memorable scenes is their confrontation on Jordan's yacht. Jordan tries to bribe Denham under the table, offering him the same kind of dream he's sold to everyone else. But Denham doesn't take the bait. Instead, he walks off the boat with quiet confidence, signaling that Jordan's days are numbered. At the same time, the financial schemes are becoming harder to manage. Jordan's efforts to hide money in Switzerland hit major snags. The Swiss banker, a slippery man named Jean-Jacques Sorel, explains that the money must be brought in discreetly, often through smugglers and foreign relatives. They use Naomi's Aunt Emma as a courier, flying cash across borders in hidden compartments. It's risky, and Jordan knows it, but he's already too deep. He trusts Donnie and the team to handle the details, but cracks begin to form. In one of the most chaotic and unforgettable sequences of the film, Jordan takes a potent batch of vintage quaaludes, known as lemons, and ends up crawling to his car, unable to speak, move, or control his body. The scene is played for laughs, but it's deeply unsettling. His speech is slurred, his limbs jelly, his mind still trying to stay in control while his body completely betrays him. And to make matters worse, Donnie is on the verge of choking on a piece of ham. Jordan, despite being half paralyzed, manages to save him. The entire event is absurd, hilarious, and tragic all at once. It's a perfect symbol of how far gone things have become: high risk, zero control, and consequences lurking just out of reach. Eventually, the walls start closing in fast. Jordan's money laundering schemes unravel. The Swiss banker is arrested. Jordan's associates begin to flip. His old friend and business partner Brad gets caught in an airport with millions of dollars hidden in a suitcase and ends up dying of a heart attack during the stress of interrogation. It's the first real loss, the first real crack in Jordan's bulletproof image. Suddenly, the fantasy starts falling apart. Then comes the plea deal. The FBI corners Jordan, and he's offered a choice: go to trial and risk decades behind bars, or cooperate and save himself. At first, Jordan fights it. He announces to his employees that he's stepping down from Stratton Oakmont. But at the last second, fueled by ego and a thirst for control, he changes his mind mid-speech and shouts, "I'm not leaving!" The office erupts in celebration, but behind the cheers, we see fear in the faces of some who know this moment marks the point of no return. But the pressure mounts, and reality catches up. Jordan finally agrees to cooperate. He wears a wire. It's the ultimate betrayal of the team he once called his family. When he's forced to secretly record Donnie during a conversation, the emotional weight hits hard. Their bond was chaotic but real, and now Jordan is handing him over to save himself. There's hesitation in his voice, guilt in his eyes, but the machine he built is now devouring everyone, including him. The downfall is swift. Stratton Oakmont collapses under the weight of legal investigations and scandal. Jordan is convicted of securities fraud and money laundering. He serves a relatively short sentence, 22 months in a minimum security prison. The king has fallen, but not as hard as one might expect. In fact, even in prison, Jordan finds a way to maintain a sense of control. He plays tennis, tells stories, and begins planning his next chapter. In the final moments of the film, we see him post-prison, reborn not as a stockbroker, but as a motivational speaker. He's standing before a crowd, teaching people how to sell. "Sell me this pen," he says, and the camera lingers on the audience's blank stares. It's haunting. The game has changed, but the hustle hasn't. Jordan is still doing what he does best. Charming, convincing, manipulating. Only now, he's doing it under the spotlight, with the world watching and maybe even admiring him again. And it leaves us with a question that lingers long after the credits roll. Did he ever really lose? Or has the system, once again, found a way to reward charisma over consequence? The film brings every thread full circle. From the hungry kid on his first day at Rothschild to the king of a financial empire built on lies, to the man crawling on the floor in a drug-induced haze, to the polished speaker on stage. It's all connected. Every choice Jordan made led him here. Every twist, every betrayal, every dollar, every pill, every lie. The rise and fall weren't random, they were inevitable. Because Jordan wasn't just chasing money. He was addicted to the feeling of more power, more pleasure, more attention. The emotional impact lands hardest not when he's arrested, but in the moments when he realizes he's lost everything that actually mattered. His daughter, his wife, his real friendships, all traded for a high that could never last. It's a cautionary tale disguised as a comedy, a tragedy hiding behind a smirk. And yet, Scorsese never tells us what to think. He doesn't punish Jordan in the way we might expect. There's no grand reckoning, no moral sermon. Instead, the film reflects the world back at us, asking, what do you value? Because while Jordan was the one making the deals, it was the clients, the crowds, the system that let him do it and loved him for it. The second half of The Wolf of Wall Street is wild, thrilling, and painfully human. It's not just a fall from grace. It's a journey into the heart of greed, power, and the thin line between success and destruction. The pacing never slows, but the tone subtly shifts from electric to reflective. By the end, we're left not just entertained, but confronted. And that's the genius of it all. In the heart of The Wolf of Wall Street is a man who doesn't just chase the American dream. He grabs it by the throat and refuses to let go. Jordan Belfort, brought to vivid, electric life by Leonardo DiCaprio, is not a traditional protagonist. He isn't a hero. He isn't quite a villain either, not in the comic book sense. He's something far more dangerous. A man who learns early on that confidence and charisma can be more powerful than truth or talent. What makes Jordan compelling is not just what he does, but why he does it, and how he never truly realizes what it's costing him until it's far too late. Jordan begins his journey with a simple goal: to be rich, not comfortable, not secure. He wants wealth in its flashiest, most excessive form. But unlike other cinematic anti-heroes who rise and fall, Jordan doesn't come from trauma or oppression. He isn't born into a broken system. He walks into it willingly, eyes wide open, and realizes almost immediately that if you speak fast enough and act like you know what you're doing, you can bend the system to your will. DiCaprio plays this early transformation with a perfect blend of nervous energy and raw ambition. You can see the innocence in young Jordan, still in awe of Wall Street, still trying to do things right. But when he's mentored by the wild, coke-fueled Mark Hanna, something shifts. Hanna doesn't just teach him how to sell, he teaches him how to stop caring. The real genius of DiCaprio's performance is how he maintains Jordan's likability even as the character becomes more monstrous. We see him lie, cheat, steal, manipulate, use people, abandon his wife, abuse drugs, bribe officials. Yet somehow the audience stays hooked. Why? Because Leo doesn't play him as evil. He plays him as addicted, not just to drugs or sex or money, but to control and power. Every scene he's in pulses with intensity, as if Jordan's trying to outpace the crash he knows is coming. And when the fall begins, the cracks in the mask start to show. not in grand emotional monologues, but in the small moments when his eyes flicker with panic, when he lashes out at Naomi, when he risks his family for a few more moments of dominance. Naomi LaPaglia, played with fiery elegance by Margot Robbie, isn't just the beautiful wife who stands beside the king of chaos. She's one of the few characters who truly challenges Jordan. When she first appears, she's framed like a fantasy. Stunning, confident, untouchable. But Robbie plays Naomi as more than a trophy. She's sharp, knows her worth, and doesn't fall for Jordan's charm easily. Their early flirtation is fun and dangerous, and when she marries him, she thinks she's gained control of a powerful life. But over time, she sees the truth. Jordan's not a provider, he's a ticking time bomb. The scene where she threatens to leave him, calling out his addictions and emotional distance, is one of the few times he's truly shaken. Naomi represents the normal life Jordan could have had. The family, the love, the stability, but he can't stop reaching for more. And when he hits her in a drugged-out rage, it's the moment that strips away any illusion of control he had left. Donny Ossoff, played with fearless, unhinged brilliance by Jonah Hill, is perhaps the most outrageous character in the film, and one of the most essential. Donny is a mirror to Jordan's darkest impulses. Where Jordan occasionally tries to justify his actions or pretend there's some logic to what he's doing, Donny doesn't bother. He wants money, drugs, women, and chaos, and he doesn't hide it. The friendship between the two is twisted and deeply codependent. Donny feeds off Jordan's leadership, and Jordan enjoys the blind loyalty Donny gives him in return. Hill's performance is bizarre, hilarious, and deeply unsettling. There's something unpredictable about Donny that makes every scene he's in feel like it could go completely off the rails. And sometimes it does. The Quaalude overdose scene, for example, is comic gold, but also a portrait of two men who've completely lost touch with reality. Donny doesn't grow or change. He's the idea of the story, the part of Jordan that doesn't want to learn anything. Then there's Agent Patrick Denham, the quiet force moving through the background like a shadow. Played with understated brilliance by Kyle Chandler, Denham isn't flashy. He doesn't give speeches or chase people down alleys. But he's always watching. He represents the cold, steady weight of consequence, and his scenes with Jordan are among the most tense in the film. There's a chess game happening between them, Jordan trying to charm and manipulate, Denham refusing to play. One of their most powerful interactions happens aboard Jordan's yacht. Jordan offers him a bribe, smiling, joking, acting like he's inviting Denham into a fantasy. But Denham, with a single look, cuts through the entire performance. He's not impressed. He doesn't want the life Jordan has. In that moment, the audience sees the contrast between two versions of success. One built on lies, the other on quiet, boring integrity. Even smaller characters play vital roles. Jordan's father, Max Belfort, is played by Rob Reiner with explosive energy. He's the closest thing Jordan has to a moral compass, even if he shouts it while storming through the office and slamming phones. Max is old school, believes in hard work, and sees the madness growing inside his son. But Jordan never listens. Max warns him, fights with him, even covers for him, but the distance between them grows. His presence adds a layer of tragedy. Jordan could have followed a different path, but he was too in love with shortcuts. There's also Aunt Emma, Naomi's refined and proper British relative who agrees to help Jordan smuggle money into Swiss banks. She's an unlikely accomplice, calm and sophisticated in a world of chaos. Her willingness to help Jordan shows how far his reach extends, and how charming he can be when he wants something. But her sudden death throws a wrench into their plans and marks the beginning of the end. Jean-Jacques Sorel, the Swiss banker, also plays a key role. He's smooth, discreet, and unbothered by the legality of the deals he's helping with. He embodies the quiet side of corruption, polished, professional, and deeply complicit. Through him, we see how Jordan's schemes are not just about breaking laws, they're about manipulating entire systems built to help the rich stay rich. One of the most thrilling aspects of The Wolf of Wall Street is how much it rewards viewers who pay close attention. Not just to the plot, but to the layers beneath the surface. Martin Scorsese's direction is a masterclass in weaving subtle details, cultural references, and symbolic imagery throughout the film, creating a rich tapestry that feels both chaotic and carefully crafted. Watching the film is like peeling an onion. Each layer reveals something new, a hidden joke, a nod to history, or a clue that foreshadows the rise and fall of Jordan Belfort and his empire. From the very start, Scorsese signals that this story is not just a biography but a critique and celebration of a certain kind of American excess. The opening scene, where Jordan is speaking to an audience in the present day, sets the tone with an almost confessional energy. His smile and delivery invite you into his world, but there's always a hint that you're watching a performance, a man controlling his narrative. This framing device is clever because it both draws you in and distances you, making you question the reliability of everything you see. It's a subtle way of reminding viewers that this is storytelling as much as it is truth. Scorsese loves to work with recurring motifs, and one of the most prominent in the film is the motif of animals, especially the wolf itself. Jordan Belfort's nickname, the Wolf, isn't just a flashy title. It's a symbol of his predatory nature. Throughout the film, you can spot visual cues reinforcing this. From the feral energy of the office workers jumping around like wild animals, to the way Jordan moves with a mix of grace and aggression. The wolf represents hunger, instinct, and the ruthless survival of the fittest. It's no accident that the film's tagline echoes this primal theme, and the movie's energy constantly pulls us back to that idea of being a predator in a world of prey. Another clever touch is the way the film uses color to reflect Jordan's transformation. Early scenes are often shot with cooler tones, blues and grays, that reflect the more structured, almost hopeful start of his career. As Jordan spirals deeper into excess and chaos, the palette shifts dramatically. The colors become warmer, more saturated, and at times almost garish. The bright reds and golds of the party scenes, the flashy watches, and the expensive suits all bleed into the visuals, creating a sense of sensory overload that matches Jordan's world. It's as if the film itself is becoming more intense, more dangerous, mirroring the way Jordan's life spirals out of control. The music choices in the film are another layer rich with meaning and cultural connection. The soundtrack is a wild ride of genres, from classic rock to hip-hop to pop, each track carefully selected to underscore the mood or inject irony. For example, the use of the Black Sabbath song War Pigs during the chaotic office scenes adds a layer of sarcasm. Here we have a band of high-flying stockbrokers acting like soldiers at war, yet their battlefield is the stock market and their weapons are lies and manipulation. These songs aren't just background. They serve as a commentary on the madness unfolding on screen. The contrast between the vintage rock tracks and the modern hustle of Jordan's schemes highlights how timeless greed really is. One of the most famous scenes, Jordan's lecture to his team about selling me this pen, is packed with symbolism and foreshadowing. At first glance, it seems like a simple sales tactic, but it actually encapsulates the film's core: the power of persuasion and narrative. When Jordan flips the pen to the prospective buyer, it's a demonstration of control. He's not selling the pen itself, but the story behind it, the need it fulfills. This scene reappears later, when Jordan uses the same tactic to charm the FBI agent Denham. It's a reminder that the line between criminal and salesman is thinner than we might think. Scorsese peppers the film with subtle nods to other cinematic works and pop culture moments, creating a metatextual experience for eagle-eyed viewers. For instance, the opening conversation between Jordan and Mark Hanna, where Hannah repeatedly makes a rhythmic humming noise, is a direct homage to a similar scene in Goodfellas, another Scorsese classic. This connection draws a parallel between the two films' themes of crime, excess, and the seductive allure of a dangerous lifestyle. The humming acts almost like a hypnotic chant, lulling Jordan, and us, into the mindset of Wall Street madness. The film also hides small jokes and references in the backgrounds of many scenes. In the office, you can spot characters wearing t-shirts or posters referencing pop culture icons like Star Wars or The Godfather. These Easter eggs aren't just for laughs. They subtly align Jordan's world with a mythology of antiheroes and legends. We see these characters as part of a larger story about ambition, power, and downfall, connecting the Wall Street saga to the broader landscape of American storytelling. One of the most poignant hidden details is the way the film treats Jordan's family, especially his daughter. She appears quietly in the background of some scenes, often untouched by the madness swirling around her. This contrast is a quiet reminder of what Jordan is sacrificing. The innocence of his daughter stands in stark opposition to the debauchery of the adult world. In one subtle scene, she's seen playing with a simple toy while Jordan is surrounded by money and drugs. This moment is never pointed out directly, but it speaks volumes about the collateral damage of Jordan's choices. Foreshadowing is a tool Scorsese wields with precision. Early in the film, when Jordan is just starting out, he casually jokes about the things he'll do when he's rich. These jokes aren't just idle chatter. They're seeds planted that grow into real events. When he talks about yacht parties or smuggling money overseas, the audience knows that those moments will come, and they carry a sense of inevitability. This technique keeps the tension alive, making the viewer both excited and anxious to see how far Jordan will go before it all falls apart. The use of drugs throughout the film is layered with symbolism. 2. The overwhelming presence of quaaludes, cocaine, and other substances is not just about excess. It's about control and loss of it. The famous scene where Jordan, high on quaaludes, crawls across the floor is as much a metaphor as a comedic set piece. His body betrays him, but his mind tries to hold on, illustrating the fragile balance between power and vulnerability. These drug sequences also connect to the film's theme of addiction, not just to substances but to money and power. There's also a recurring visual motif of mirrors and reflections. Characters are often shown looking at themselves in mirrors or windows, caught between who they are and who they pretend to be. This visual storytelling hints at the duality of Jordan's life, the man he shows the world and the man behind the scenes. It reminds us that identity in this film is fluid, constructed, and easily fractured. Throughout the movie, the writing slips in sharp cultural critiques hidden under layers of humor and spectacle. The way clients are portrayed, often clueless, desperate, or easily manipulated, is a subtle commentary on the nature of capitalism itself. The film doesn't just mock Jordan and his crew. It holds up a mirror to the entire financial system that enables and rewards such behavior. This is why The Wolf of Wall Street remains relevant years after its release. It's not just a story about one man's excess, but about the structural forces that allow that excess to flourish. Even the title itself carries hidden meaning. The Wolf of Wall Street sounds like a nickname born from admiration, but within the film, it's a label of warning. Wolves hunt in packs and rely on cunning and strength, but they also risk destruction. Jordan's story is the story of a lone wolf trying to dominate the pack, only to be devoured by his own hunger. Fans of the film have also uncovered lesser-known Easter eggs tied to real-life events and people. Some background characters are named after actual employees from Jordan Belfort's Stratton Oakmont days. There are also sly references to infamous Wall Street scandals woven into the script and visuals, grounding the film in a wider context. These nods create a rich universe that rewards viewers who know their financial history or who are willing to dig deeper. Scorsese's attention to detail extends to the props and set design, too. For instance, the stacks of cash in the office aren't just piled up randomly. They reflect real currencies and denominations used in actual Wall Street transactions. The watches, suits, and even the cars Jordan drives were carefully chosen to represent different phases of his rise and fall. This meticulous design work adds texture and authenticity to the story, making the excess feel tangible rather than cartoonish. One memorable detail is the recurring use of the red sports car, which serves almost as a character itself. It symbolizes Jordan's reckless speed and desire to outrun consequences. Scenes where he speeds down highways or crashes the car become symbolic moments of losing control. The car isn't just a status symbol. It's a metaphor for his lifestyle. The film's final scenes also carry subtle symbolic weight. When Jordan stands before an audience selling dreams again, the lighting and framing echo earlier moments of his rise. It's a visual circle, reminding viewers that the story isn't over, just transformed. The camera lingers on the audience's mixed expressions, some mesmerized, some skeptical. This moment asks us to think about the cycle of greed and ambition that never truly ends. What makes these hidden details and Easter eggs so effective is how seamlessly they're integrated into the story. None of them feel forced or like distractions. Instead, They enrich the experience, making the film not just a wild ride but a layered narrative full of meaning. Watching The Wolf of Wall Street becomes an active experience, where sharp-eyed viewers can constantly discover new layers, new jokes, new warnings, new connections. The Wolf of Wall Street is a film packed with scenes that leave a lasting impact, not just because they're flashy or outrageous, but because they tap into something deeper, something raw about human ambition, excess, and vulnerability. Each key moment pulses with emotional energy and thematic weight, making the film a roller coaster that keeps audiences gripped, laughing, cringing, and sometimes even reflecting on their own values. These scenes don't just entertain. They shape the way we understand Jordan Belfort's world and the high cost of living without limits. One of the first truly memorable moments that set the tone for the entire film is the introduction of Mark Hanna, played by Matthew McConaughey, who delivers a wild, humming chant while explaining the sales world to young Jordan Belfort. This scene is deceptively simple but incredibly powerful. The humming is almost tribal, an odd ritual that hints at the primal nature of the sales game and the emotional roller coaster Jordan is about to enter. McConaughey's performance here is hypnotic, and the scene's intensity communicates the idea that selling isn't just about logic or numbers. It's about tapping into something deeper in human psychology. For the audience, this moment is a wild invitation into the high-stakes, hyper-energized world of Wall Street, a world where emotion often trumps reason. Moving forward, one cannot overlook the legendary "Sell Me This Pen" scene. What seems like a simple sales exercise actually captures the essence of persuasion and manipulation that runs through the entire film. When Jordan asks the audience or his team to sell him the pen, he's teaching them to sell an idea, a need, not just a product. This moment resonates emotionally because it strips down complex Wall Street scams to their bare human core. The power of storytelling is a key thematic moment, revealing how the art of selling often relies on creating desire where none existed before. The audience reacts with a mix of amusement and awe, as this scene exposes the slick charisma behind the scams we're about to witness. Another crucial moment is the first big party at Stratton Oakmont. This scene explodes with energy, drugs, music, money flying everywhere. It captures the intoxicating rush of excess that drives the story, but beneath the surface, it's a study in the dangerous allure of hedonism. The camera work, fast cuts, and chaotic energy make viewers feel like they are right in the middle of the madness. Emotionally, it's thrilling but also unsettling, as the audience is invited to both celebrate and question the reckless abandon on display. This scene shapes the film by setting the stakes high. The rewards seem enormous, but the costs are mounting. The dynamic between Jordan and Naomi LaPaglia introduces some of the film's most emotionally charged moments. Their early romance is charged with electricity and seduction, but as Naomi's character deepens, so do the tensions. One of the film's most powerful scenes is when Naomi confronts Jordan about his drug abuse and infidelity. The emotional intensity here cuts through the film's otherwise frenetic pace. Margot Robbie's performance grounds the chaos in something human and relatable. The audience feels the pain and disappointment in Naomi's voice, and Jordan's inability to change adds tragic weight. This moment is a turning point. It highlights the personal destruction lurking beneath the surface of the financial excess and gives the story emotional depth beyond the parties and scams. The film's comedic moments, especially those involving Jonah Hill's Donny Ossoff, are often laced with darker themes. Take, for instance, the infamous Quaalude scene where Jordan and Donnie crawl across the floor in a drug-induced haze. On the surface, this scene is hilarious. Hill and DiCaprio's physical comedy is impeccable. Yet, beneath the laughter lies a disturbing portrayal of addiction and loss of control. The audience laughs but also feels a creeping sense of unease. This blend of comedy and tragedy is a hallmark of the film, showing how excess can be both absurd and devastating. This scene also marks a shift in tone, signaling that the reckless fun is beginning to catch up with the characters. The yacht scenes provide some of the film's most visually stunning and symbolically rich moments. Jordan's extravagant lifestyle is on full display here, but there's also a sense of isolation. Even in the midst of opulence, Jordan often appears restless or tense, a man trying to outrun the consequences of his actions. One striking moment is when FBI agent Patrick Denham boards the yacht to confront Jordan. The tension is palpable, and the scene becomes a chess match between two men representing opposing worlds: law and chaos. Kyle Chandler's calm, unyielding presence contrasts sharply with DiCaprio's manic energy. For viewers, this moment crystallizes the inevitable clash between Jordan's fantasy and reality. Another emotionally charged scene is the moment Jordan's empire begins to crumble. The FBI raids, betrayals, and legal pressures come crashing down with devastating speed. Scorsese's direction here is masterful. What could have been a straightforward downfall becomes a deeply human moment of vulnerability. Jordan's arrogance cracks, and the audience sees glimpses of regret and desperation. This part of the film shifts from comedy and excess to a more sober reflection on consequences. It forces viewers to reckon with the fallout of unchecked greed and self-destruction. The courtroom and legal negotiation scenes are also key moments where the film's themes come into sharp focus. Jordan's attempts to manipulate and charm his way out of trouble show the limits of charisma in the face of institutional power. The emotional weight here isn't just about legal consequences, but about identity and loss. As Jordan's freedom and status slip away, the audience is invited to consider what remains when wealth and influence are gone. These scenes bring the story full circle, reminding us that the system may tolerate excess for a time, but it eventually demands accountability. The film's closing moments offer a complex and somewhat unsettling conclusion. Jordan, now stripped of his fortune and facing the consequences, begins to reinvent himself as a motivational speaker. This ending isn't a neat redemption but rather a commentary on cycles of ambition and reinvention. The audience is left questioning whether Jordan has truly changed or simply found a new way to sell his dreams. The emotional resonance here is ambiguous. There's both hope and cynicism in the final scenes. This ambiguity deepens the film's impact, encouraging viewers to reflect on the nature of success and morality. Throughout the film, Scorsese's direction, combined with Terrence Winter's sharp script, crafts scenes that balance humor and gravity, spectacle and intimacy. The editing, pacing, and use of voiceover narration add layers of complexity to even the wildest moments. The audience is constantly pulled between fascination and judgment, invited to laugh at the absurdity but also to feel the human cost. The Wolf of Wall Street bursts onto the screen with an energy that's hard to ignore, driven by a series of scenes that grab viewers by the collar and don't let go. What makes this film so unforgettable are the moments that balance wild excess with emotional truth, where spectacle meets something deeply human. Each impactful scene contributes layers to the story, drawing audiences not only into Jordan Belfort's chaotic rise and fall, but also into a broader reflection on ambition, greed, and consequence. From the very beginning, the film's opening scene grabs attention with Jordan Belfort, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, addressing an unseen audience in a direct and almost conspiratorial way. This moment sets the tone for the entire film. Jordan's charm, energy, and confidence are immediately palpable. It's not just an introduction. It's an invitation to join him in his world, to see through his eyes. The emotional pull here is strong because Jordan's charisma makes the audience complicit in his schemes, challenging them to question their own fascination with wealth and power. This opening breaks the fourth wall subtly, creating a connection that feels personal and engaging, and it lays the groundwork for a story told with both humor and critique. One of the earliest memorable moments that echoes throughout the film is the intense, almost ritualistic sales training session with Mark Hanna, portrayed by Matthew McConaughey. The strange humming and odd chants Hannah performs might seem bizarre, but they are a brilliant way of showing the primal energy behind high-pressure sales tactics. This scene does more than introduce Jordan's mentor. It reveals the emotional undercurrents of the finance world, where selling becomes a kind of battle cry, a way to pump up adrenaline and suppress doubt. Viewers react with a mix of amusement and intrigue, as this odd ritual hints at the psychological games that will dominate the story. It sets the stage for the intoxicating yet dangerous culture Jordan is about to enter, highlighting the thin line between confidence and mania. As the story progresses, the infamous "Sell Me This Pen" scene stands out not just for its simplicity, but for its powerful thematic weight. At first glance, it seems like a straightforward sales exercise, but it's actually a masterclass in persuasion and storytelling. Jordan's lesson is that selling isn't about the product. It's about creating a need, selling a vision, or manipulating desire. This moment resonates deeply because it distills the essence of Jordan's world. The ability to spin a convincing story can generate millions, regardless of substance. For audiences, it is both impressive and unsettling, encapsulating the charm and the danger that drives the narrative forward. It also foreshadows Jordan's eventual downfall, hinting that the power of words can only carry one so far before reality catches up. One cannot talk about The Wolf of Wall Street without diving into the explosive party scenes at Stratton Oakmont. These sequences are a chaotic whirl of drugs, music, money, and reckless abandon, perfectly capturing the seductive lure of excess. The visual style, fast cuts, vibrant colors, and dynamic camera movement immerses viewers into this frenzied atmosphere. Emotionally, these scenes evoke a roller coaster feeling, exhilaration mixed with unease. The audience is drawn to the thrill but can't help sensing the looming danger beneath the surface. These parties are not just wild fun. They symbolize a culture of unchecked indulgence that ultimately leads to collapse. They shape the film's overall experience by providing an intense sensory ride that mirrors Jordan's own descent into chaos. The relationship between Jordan and Naomi LaPaglia, played by Margot Robbie, adds an important emotional dimension to the film. Their early chemistry is electric, full of passion and desire, which gives the story a human heart amidst the madness. However, as Naomi confronts Jordan's growing drug addiction and infidelities, their interactions take on a heavier tone. One particularly impactful scene is when Naomi, frustrated and hurt, stands firm against Jordan's self-destructive behavior. Robbie's performance grounds the film, offering a glimpse into the personal costs of Jordan's lifestyle. This scene resonates with audiences because it reveals the vulnerability beneath Jordan's bravado and the collateral damage of his choices. It reminds viewers that behind the glittering facade of wealth lie fractured relationships and emotional pain, deepening the film's emotional complexity. Humor and tragedy intertwine perfectly in the scene where Jordan and Donny Ossoff, played by Jonah Hill, struggle to move while heavily sedated on Quaaludes. The physical comedy is brilliantly executed, making the audience laugh out loud. Yet beneath the laughter, the scene carries a deeper significance. It exposes the fragility of Jordan's empire and his body's limits. The desperate crawl across the floor symbolizes a loss of control, a stark contrast to Jordan's usual commanding presence. This moment shifts the film's tone, reminding viewers that beneath the wild excess lurks serious addiction and vulnerability. The balance between comedy and tragedy here makes the story feel more authentic and emotionally resonant, showing that even in the midst of outrageous behavior, real consequences unfold. The yacht scenes serve as powerful visual metaphors for Jordan's rise and impending fall. His lavish lifestyle is on full display, but there is also a subtle tension beneath the surface. When FBI agent Patrick Denham boards the yacht, the scene becomes a psychological duel, a confrontation between law and lawlessness. The calm, steady demeanor of Denham contrasts sharply with Jordan's manic energy, heightening the emotional stakes. This moment crystallizes the central conflict of the film, the clash between unrestrained greed and the forces trying to contain it. For the audience, the yacht symbolizes both ultimate success and the fragile bubble about to burst. These scenes deepen the narrative by illustrating how the pursuit of power creates both illusion and vulnerability. As the film moves toward its climax, the scenes of Jordan's empire unraveling carry intense emotional weight. The FBI raids, betrayals by close allies, and mounting legal pressures break down. The Wolf of Wall Street isn't just a wild story about money and excess. It's a vivid exploration of deeper themes that ripple through the narrative like an undercurrent, shaping everything the audience experiences. At its core, the film dives into the intoxicating allure of greed and ambition, the fragility of morality in the face of temptation, and the dark consequences of living without limits. These themes don't sit on the surface. They are woven into every scene, every character choice, and every symbol, creating a rich tapestry that reflects not just the world of Jordan Belfort, but broader social and cultural realities. From the very start, the theme of ambition pulses through the film. Jordan Belfort's journey is fueled by an insatiable desire to rise, to succeed beyond anyone's expectations. His relentless drive captures a universal aspect of human nature, the urge to break free from limits and redefine what's possible. However, the film doesn't glorify ambition blindly. Instead, it exposes how ambition, when untethered from ethics, can spiral into destructive excess. Jordan's story is a cautionary tale of how the pursuit of wealth and power can erode personal values, relationships, and ultimately one's sense of self. This tension between aspiration and consequence forms the emotional backbone of the narrative, inviting viewers to reflect on their own definitions of success. The theme of greed naturally follows, and it's portrayed not just as a personal flaw but as a cultural epidemic. The brokerage firm Stratton Oakmont becomes a symbol of a system that rewards manipulation and excess, a microcosm of a society obsessed with money at any cost. Through the film's fast-paced depiction of lavish parties, drug use, and unethical practices, viewers see greed's intoxicating appeal alongside its corrosive effects. The film suggests that greed, while seductive, ultimately leads to isolation, paranoia, and downfall. It's a powerful commentary on how unchecked desire for wealth distorts human behavior and social values. This theme resonates widely, especially in light of real-world financial scandals, making the story feel both personal and universal. Morality, or the lack of it, is a central thread throughout the film. Jordan and his colleagues operate in a world where rules are bent or ignored, where the line between right and wrong blurs under the weight of profit and pleasure. The film explores how individuals justify unethical actions when driven by greed and ambition. This moral ambiguity is reflected in Jordan's charismatic narration. He invites the audience to understand, if not sympathize with, his choices while never fully excusing them. The tension between charm and corruption challenges viewers to grapple with complex questions about accountability and redemption. It's a theme that adds depth to the film's wild surface, making it a story about human weakness as much as financial crime. Symbolism plays a vital role in amplifying these themes, enriching the narrative with layers of meaning. The Stratton Oakmont office itself is a symbol of excess, a place where the usual rules don't apply, where greed fuels every interaction. Its chaotic, high-energy environment mirrors the reckless abandon of its employees and the instability of their empire. The extravagant parties are more than celebrations. They are visual metaphors for the destructive cycle of indulgence. Drugs, alcohol, and lavish spending symbolize escape and denial, masking the emptiness beneath the surface. These images invite the audience to look beyond the glamour and question the true cost of such a lifestyle. The recurring presence of the sea and boats adds another symbolic layer. Yachts in the film represent ultimate luxury and freedom, but also fragility and isolation. Jordan's yacht is both a floating palace and a prison, highlighting the paradox of wealth, its power to elevate and entrap. When the FBI confronts Jordan aboard his yacht, it symbolizes the collision of fantasy and reality, of unchecked ambition meeting inevitable consequences. This imagery deepens the narrative, reminding viewers that material success can't shield one from moral reckoning. The pen, famously featured in the Sell Me This Pen scene, is a subtle but powerful symbol. It represents more than a simple object. It stands for the art of persuasion, the ability to create desire where none exists. Selling the pen mirrors the broader theme of illusion versus reality, showing how appearances can be manipulated to serve greed. The pen symbolizes the seductive power of storytelling, a tool that can build fortunes or destroy lives depending on how it's wielded. This symbolism resonates throughout the film, underscoring the fragility of the empire Jordan builds on words and charisma. The film's social commentary extends beyond individual ambition and greed to critique wider cultural and economic systems. It portrays a Wall Street culture that incentivizes risk-taking and ethical compromise, reflecting real-world financial environments where rules are often bent or ignored. The story exposes how systemic issues enable corruption to flourish, with regulators and law enforcement portrayed as persistent but often reactive forces. This portrayal invites viewers to consider the broader implications of unchecked capitalism and the social cost of prioritizing profit above all else. The film's timing, following the 2008 financial crisis, adds resonance, making it a potent critique of economic excess and moral failure. The movie also touches on themes of identity and reinvention. Jordan's journey is not just about making money but about crafting a persona, a larger-than-life figure who embodies success and freedom. His transformation from a modest broker to a flamboyant mogul illustrates how identity can be shaped by ambition and image. Yet, the film also reveals the fragility of this constructed identity. As Jordan's empire collapses, the cracks in his persona become evident, exposing vulnerability and loss. This theme connects to universal questions about authenticity, the masks people wear, and the costs of living a life built on illusion. Family and relationships form another layer of thematic complexity. Jordan's marriage to Naomi starts with passion but deteriorates under the strain of his lifestyle. Their relationship serves as a microcosm of the film's larger tensions between desire and responsibility, appearance and reality. Naomi's character grounds the story emotionally, reminding viewers that the personal costs of Jordan's actions extend beyond financial loss. The film explores how ambition and excess can fracture human connections, adding emotional weight to the narrative. This theme enriches the story by showing that even the most glamorous success can leave personal lives in ruins. The Wolf of Wall Street stands out as much for its visual energy and storytelling craft as for its story, using cinematic techniques that pull viewers deep into the chaotic world of Jordan Belfort. From the very first frame, the film's style is bold, dynamic, and fast-paced, mirroring the dizzying rise and fall of its central character. Director Martin Scorsese, a master of blending narrative and form, shapes the movie with techniques that don't just show the story, they make you feel it. The cinematography by Rodrigo Prieto plays a crucial role in crafting the film's immersive feel. One of the most striking features is the fluid camera movement. Scenes often unfold through long, continuous shots that flow smoothly between characters and actions, creating a sense of real-time urgency and intimacy. For example, the opening scene where Jordan Belfort addresses the camera feels like an invitation into his world, a direct and personal connection with the audience. This technique breaks the fourth wall subtly and draws viewers into the frenetic pace of Wall Street life. The camera work never feels static. It constantly moves with energy, whether zooming into wild parties or following the frantic energy in the office, reflecting the non-stop hustle and excess. The film's editing, handled by Thelma Schoonmaker, is another key pillar in building its distinctive style. The rapid cuts, especially in the scenes depicting sales calls or parties, amplify the sense of chaos and relentless momentum. Quick montages convey the fast accumulation of wealth and the hedonistic lifestyle, while also emphasizing the dizzying and often overwhelming nature of Jordan's world. The editing rhythm shifts to suit the tone, fast and relentless during scenes of excess, slower and more deliberate during moments of emotional weight or legal pressure. This careful balance keeps the narrative engaging and maintains a natural flow, avoiding fatigue despite the film's nearly 3-hour length. Visually, the film leans into vibrant, saturated colors to reflect the wild lifestyle. The bright suits, flashy office spaces, and neon lights of nightclubs emphasize the extravagance that defines Jordan's rise. In contrast, some of the more somber moments, such as legal confrontations or personal crises, are shot with cooler, muted tones, visually signaling a shift in mood. This color contrast not only enhances the emotional impact but also helps viewers navigate the highs and lows of the story without feeling disoriented. The production design, from the cluttered yet glamorous offices to the over-the-top mansions and yachts, grounds the visual storytelling, making the environment feel like a character in itself. Sound design in The Wolf of Wall Street complements the visuals perfectly, weaving into the story with subtlety and power. The background noise of ringing phones, bustling offices, and street sounds creates a textured soundscape that pulls the audience into the film's setting. Importantly, moments of silence or muffled sound are used strategically to heighten tension or draw attention to key emotional beats. For instance, during scenes of drug use or moments of internal struggle, the sound can become distorted or muted, reflecting the character's altered states or emotional disconnect. This careful attention to sound nuances enriches the sensory experience, making the chaos feel more immersive and the quieter moments more poignant. Music in the film is an essential narrative device that both anchors the story in its era and amplifies the emotional tone. The soundtrack blends classic rock, pop, and hip-hop tracks that feel energetic and rebellious, mirroring Jordan's larger-than-life personality and the film's themes of excess and freedom. Songs like Black Skinhead by Kanye West during the yacht scene underscore the wild, unapologetic nature of Jordan's lifestyle. The music choices are never random. They reflect the mood, intensify scenes, and sometimes create ironic contrasts. High-energy tracks accompanying morally questionable acts, for example. This use of music helps maintain a rhythm that keeps the audience hooked, emotionally responding not just to dialogue but to the film's sonic energy. One of the unique stylistic choices defining Scorsese's vision here is the use of direct address. Jordan frequently speaks directly to the camera, breaking the traditional narrative structure. This technique creates a confessional, almost theatrical vibe, as if Jordan is inviting the audience into his inner circle, sharing his perspective with a mix of charm, arrogance, and vulnerability. It deepens the viewer's engagement by making Jordan's story feel personal and immediate. This breaking of the fourth wall also adds complexity, as it blurs the line between narrator and protagonist, making the audience complicit in Jordan's actions and choices. The film's visual storytelling also uses symbolism embedded in its cinematography. For instance, shots framing Jordan against towering skyscrapers emphasize his desire to conquer the financial world, but also highlight his smallness amid the larger system. Reflections in mirrors and glass surfaces recur, suggesting themes of illusion, duality, and self-deception. These visual motifs are subtle yet powerful, reinforcing the narrative's exploration of identity and the deceptive nature of appearances. Camera angles vary widely to suit the story's emotional beats. High-angle shots often depict moments when Jordan or other characters lose control, making them appear small or overwhelmed. Conversely, low-angle shots emphasize moments of power and dominance, like when Jordan commands the Stratton Oakmont office or delivers a rousing speech. These choices enhance the viewer's emotional response, making power dynamics and character transformations visually tangible. Scorsese's direction also embraces humor through timing and framing. Comedic sequences, like the infamous Quaalude scene where Jordan and Donnie struggle to walk, use physical comedy enhanced by tight framing and precise cuts. The camera captures their exaggerated movements with a mix of empathy and humor, inviting laughter without demeaning the characters. This balance between comedy and drama is a hallmark of the film's style, allowing moments of levity to coexist with intense drama. Lighting in the film plays a subtle but important role in storytelling. Naturalistic lighting in office scenes contrasts with the stylized, sometimes harsh lighting of the parties and drug-fueled nights. This contrast visually separates the different worlds Jordan inhabits, the professional facade versus the hidden chaos. Light and shadow interplay also underscore moments of moral ambiguity, with characters often half-lit to suggest duality or internal conflict. The Wolf of Wall Street bursts with an energy that feels electric, and much of this vitality springs from the dynamic chemistry between its cast members. At the center of it all, Leonardo DiCaprio embodies Jordan Belfort with a magnetic intensity that draws viewers in, but his performance feels even more alive thanks to the actors around him. The relationship between DiCaprio and Jonah Hill, who plays Donnie Azoff, is a prime example of how on-screen chemistry elevates the storytelling. Their playful, almost brotherly rapport turns wild sales pitches and outrageous antics into moments charged with both humor and a hint of underlying menace. This bond feels natural and unscripted, which is no accident. Reports from behind the scenes reveal that DiCaprio and Hill developed a genuine friendship, often improvising lines and feeding off each other's energy. Their camaraderie translates into scenes that buzz with spontaneity, making the chaos feel authentic rather than staged. Margot Robbie's portrayal of Naomi LaPaglia adds another vital layer to the film's chemistry. Although her screen time is more limited compared to DiCaprio and Hill, her presence commands attention and provides an emotional anchor amid the mayhem. DiCaprio and Robbie shared a palpable intensity in their scenes, a mix of passion and volatility that captures the roller coaster of Jordan and Naomi's relationship. Behind the scenes, Robbie's breakout role was shaped by her own fresh perspective, and her ability to balance vulnerability with assertiveness made Naomi a complex figure rather than a simple side character. Their on-screen relationship reveals not just the glitz but the darker fractures beneath the surface. And this depth resonates because of the actors' genuine connection. The supporting cast also contributes richly to the film's dynamic atmosphere. Matthew McConaughey's brief but memorable role as Mark Hanna introduces a mentor figure who sets the tone for Jordan's journey. McConaughey's confident, almost hypnotic delivery contrasts sharply with the rest of the cast's manic energy, grounding the story in a world that is both seductive and ruthless. The interplay between McConaughey and DiCaprio in their early scenes is sharp and charged, providing a believable catalyst for Jordan's transformation. Other cast members, like Kyle Chandler as Agent Denham and Rob Reiner as Max Belfort, add crucial tension, representing the law and family pressures that encroach on Jordan's world. The varied chemistry among the ensemble enriches the narrative by reflecting the diverse forces at play. The film's set dynamics further enhanced these performances. The Stratton Oakmont office, a key location, was recreated with meticulous detail to feel like a living, breathing organism. The chaotic, noisy environment captured the relentless pressure and wild culture of the firm. Cast members have shared that filming in this space helped them immerse fully in their roles, making the frenetic energy palpable on screen. Scenes featuring the sales floor crackle with tension and excitement, as actors perform in close quarters with fast-paced dialogue and physicality that demand real-time reactions. This environment forced actors to stay sharp and reactive, heightening the authenticity of their performances. It wasn't just a backdrop. It was a character itself, influencing how the story unfolded. Behind the scenes, director Martin Scorsese fostered a collaborative atmosphere that encouraged improvisation and risk-taking. Many iconic moments, including some of the film's most outrageous and memorable scenes, emerged from on-set spontaneity. The famous Quaalude walk scene, for example, reportedly involved actors testing boundaries to capture the perfect blend of humor and chaos. DiCaprio and Hill pushed each other to experiment with physical comedy in ways that felt both hilarious and raw, resulting in a scene that is unforgettable because of its genuine energy. Scorsese's openness to this creative process allowed the actors to inhabit their roles fully, adding layers of realism and unpredictability. The relationship between actors and crew also contributed to the film's tone. Stories from production describe a set alive with laughter but also intense focus, reflecting the film's blend of comedy and drama. The actors' dedication to portraying the excess and downfall authentically led to a demanding shoot, with some scenes requiring multiple takes to get just right. This intensity paid off, as the performances balance wild abandon with precise storytelling, keeping viewers engaged throughout the nearly 3-hour runtime. Audience reactions to The Wolf of Wall Street were as varied and vibrant as the film itself. Upon release, the movie sparked considerable conversation, both for its unflinching portrayal of excess and for its stylistic bravado. Some viewers were captivated by the film's humor and energy, finding it a thrilling roller coaster ride into the wild world of Wall Street. Others debated the ethics of portraying such morally dubious characters with charm and flair. This mix of admiration and criticism underscored how the film touched a nerve, challenging audiences to confront their own fascination with wealth, power, and corruption. Critically, the film was lauded for its direction, performances, and screenplay. Leonardo DiCaprio's portrayal of Jordan Belfort received particular praise for its intensity and nuance, earning him numerous award nominations. Jonah Hill's performance was noted for bringing a fresh, comedic edge to the film, expanding his range beyond previous roles. Margot Robbie's breakout performance also garnered acclaim, marking her as a rising star with considerable talent. The film's bold style, sharp script, and strong ensemble cast solidified its place as a standout in Scorsese's filmography and in contemporary cinema. Long-term fan engagement has kept The Wolf of Wall Street relevant well beyond its theatrical run. The film has become a cultural touchstone, referenced and parodied across media, from comedy sketches to music videos. Its quotable lines and memorable scenes have taken on a life of their own, contributing to its status as a modern classic. Online fan communities dissect the film's themes, performances, and behind-the-scenes details, revealing a deep appreciation for the craft and storytelling. The film's mix of humor, drama, and real-world critique continues to resonate with new audiences, sparking discussions about ambition, morality, and the costs of excess. The Wolf of Wall Street remains one of the most electrifying and provocative films of its era, a whirlwind of ambition, excess, and consequence that continues to captivate audiences years after its release. What makes this movie truly stand out is its fearless dive into the chaotic life of Jordan Belfort, delivered with a style and energy that few films can match. From the very first scene, it grabs your attention, not just with the wild story but with the way it's told. Martin Scorsese's direction masterfully balances the dizzying highs of wealth and power with the dark undercurrents of greed and corruption, creating a narrative that is as entertaining as it is thought-provoking. The performances are unforgettable, with Leonardo DiCaprio at the forefront delivering a magnetic, multi-layered portrayal of a man who's both charismatic and deeply flawed. His chemistry with Jonah Hill and Margot Robbie adds depth and dimension, turning what could have been caricatures into living, breathing characters that feel real despite their excess. This trio, along with the strong supporting cast, creates a dynamic ecosystem on screen that pulls viewers deep into the wild ride. The interactions feel raw and authentic, reflecting the unpredictable nature of the world they inhabit. Visually, the film is a feast. Fluid camera movements, vibrant color palettes, and dynamic editing work together to mirror the frenetic pace and mood swings of Jordan's world. The sound design and music amplify every moment, making the audience feel like they are not just watching but living through the rise and fall of a financial empire. The use of direct address, where Jordan talks to the audience, breaks conventional storytelling and adds an intimate, confessional layer, drawing viewers even closer into the story's core. Beyond the surface spectacle, the film explores deeper themes: ambition unchecked, the intoxicating allure of money, and the moral compromises that come with chasing the American dream. Symbolism woven through the cinematography and narrative enriches the experience, inviting viewers to reflect on the thin line between success and self-destruction. It's a movie that entertains while challenging, holding a mirror up to society's fascination with wealth and power. The chemistry between the cast, the immersive set design, and the collaborative spirit behind the scenes bring the story to life in a way that feels fresh and vibrant. The audience reactions and critical acclaim underscore how The Wolf of Wall Street resonates on multiple levels: thrilling, shocking, funny, and ultimately human. It's a film that invites repeated viewings, each time revealing new layers and insights. If you love this breakdown, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of cinema. Let's keep exploring movies together. There's so much more to uncover, and every film has its own story waiting to be told. Thanks for joining me on this journey through The Wolf of Wall Street. Until next time, keep watching, keep wondering, and keep loving the magic of movies.